I just realized I forgot to turn on my ring light, and I've literally been using the old mildewy yellow lights that are installed in here. I literally hate myself. This is great. Yes. Luckily, this is a video where you're not looking at my face the entire time, so. Disclaimer. This video deals with the topic of abusive parents in works of fiction and without graphic details, and gender dysphoria, also in fictional sense, along with transphobia and homophobia. If that is upsetting for you, I would recommend not watching this. Shiota Nagisa. Oh, this is not gonna be good. Not sponsored. I'm just really thirsty right now. Greetings, guys, gals, non-binary pals. My name is Mr. J, even though I'm not a Mr. My pronouns are they, them. If this is your first time on the channel, make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more rant-type videos like this, along with tier list videos and deep dives into other series. Before we get into the video, it's Pride Month, everyone. Or at least it is when I'm recording this, but like it's already into it, and like there's no way I'm gonna be able to get this video along with the other videos out in time, but like whatever. It's Pride Month to me currently. So shout out to all you gay people, because I'm an ally. In case you didn't know that was a joke, I'm literally gay. In case you couldn't tell. Today I'm going to be explaining some of my personal trans headcanons or transcoded characters in different anime series and saying how they fit into the narrative and why some people come to that conclusion. Before we begin, I'd like to quickly explain that I have not watched the Assassination Classroom anime, but I have read all of the manga. So, yeah, if there's a few things that are different in the anime, I personally don't know that part, so if I skip over something, don't yell at me. With the two other characters I will be briefly discussing, I am not sure if I'm caught up on My Hero Academia or not, but I'm pretty far into the series, so I know the characters pretty well. And I have not finished the anime or the manga of Ouran High School Host Club, so yeah, but like I don't think you have to get that far into the series to see the obvious transcoding. And of course, I am not Japanese, nor do I speak Japanese, so I will probably butcher most of the names in this. So yeah, just if you're Japanese or know how to pronounce names correctly, maybe just like plug your ears. Spare yourself the pain of listening to me butchering names. And also, I know that some people might think I only headcanon someone as trans because of the way they look, which that's completely not the reason I do. The way they look might factor into it, but anyone of any sex or gender can look anyway. It's more based on their, like, the way they act, the relationship they have with their gender, or like the relationship with the world around them that might factor into the trans experience. So yeah, just wanted to put that out there. Okay, with all that out of the way, let's get into it. So ever since fiction has been a thing, people have been making theories and headcanons about their favorite characters. This was especially popular with queer people, seeing as we don't have that much representation. So we'd have to read between the lines, or we'd have to project representation where it's lacking. Not even to mention the fact that creators literally weren't allowed to show queer people in their stories, so they had to code them or just forget about them altogether. Heck, even billion-dollar companies who can afford to lose some money are too scared to show any real representation because they want a little extra cash from conservative countries. In quite a few of the animes and mangas that I follow, such as Assassination Classroom, My Hero Academia, Haikyuu, Ouran High School Host Club, and Demon Slayer, the fans would headcanon gender identities and sexualities onto the characters, either because of shipping reasons or just because they read the character that way. The thing is, a lot of these animes and mangas have large queer fan bases, so a lot of queer headcanons and ships go into that with no actual representation in the shows. I mean, if there is any, very little, or it's shown in a kind of negative light. Yes, I realize that Japan is still a rather conservative country when it comes to queer rights and representation, and I'm looking at this through a Western perspective. I also know that queer representation is possible, that there is an audience for it, both with Japanese fans and with international fans. A good example of a character often headcanoned as trans is Eijiro
Eijiro Kirishima
from My Hero Academia. Yes, canonically he is cisgender, but many people see his unique relationship to masculinity and his positive betrayal of it as a sign he could be trans. In the episodes focusing on his backstory, you see him in middle school with an almost completely different personality than he does in the show. He is self-conscious and more quiet. Also, he has longer hair, which could be because he's not out at the time or still presenting himself as a girl. He looks up to a very masculine hero, someone he might want to be like when he grows up. And when he goes to UA, when we see him in the show, he seemingly comes out and gets a whole new, more outgoing personality, is able to be himself more often, and also gets a new hairstyle, something trans people love doing after coming out. It's me. It's me. I'm the trans person who got a haircut after I came out. He also seems way more confident in his masculinity without being toxic about it. Besides, look at his costume and tell me that's not something a trans guy would pick out to show off his top surgery. I mean, I would totally wear that after about $10,000 in a years-long wait list. Another example of a trans-coded character is Haruhi from Ouran High School Host Club. They have a very unique relationship to gender, not caring how they're perceived and purposely altering their language to use more masculine words to talk about themselves. They don't seem to mind getting attention from both men and women, and they seem more comfortable in masculine clothing, but don't mind feminine clothing either. When Tamaki asks, that is not how you pronounce his name. When Tamaki asks,
Haruhi?
Yeah?
So you're a girl?
Biologically speaking, yeah. Listen, Senpai, I don't really care whether you guys recognize me as a boy or a girl. In my opinion, it's more important for a person to be recognized for who they are rather than for what sex they are.
Haruhi nearly made me realize I was non-binary, and many other non-binary people or trans-masculine people saw Haruhi, and that helped with their coming out process. Someone that we could relate to. Well, Ouran High School Host Club definitely has its faults.
All hail Super Club!
This transvestite is Haruhi's father?
You can pay me back with your body. Surely you weren't so naive that you actually believe a person's sex doesn't matter.
It's no excuse, you idiot! Don't forget, you're a girl!
It has a very largely queer fan base, which, if you watch some of the scenes in that show, it makes sense. The channel, All Art is Bad, did a really good video about Ouran High School Host Club as a whole, with a special focus on Haruhi and their relationship with gender. I will link that video below, and I definitely recommend watching that after my video is done, of course. But this video isn't about Kirishima being a trans guy, though I could totally make a video about that, or Haruhi being a non-binary icon who helped me discover my own identity and low-key gives me gender envy by just existing. This is about another anime character I hear much less about. Nagisa, I think. Nagisa Shiota. Here, I will be going over ways that his backstory, personality, and relationships could relate to him being a trans guy. Okay, let's start with who is Nagisa, the focus of the video. Typical weak, nearly invisible, overall nice guy with a nice girl love interest who's actually really cool on her own, and an ex-friend foil who definitely isn't a love interest, who manages to catch the attention of an incredibly powerful teacher who gives him the skills to unlock his secret talent. Nagisa Shiota. Wait, who else did you think I was talking about? Nagisa Shiota is the main protagonist and narrator of the Assassination Classroom series. He's a student in Koro Sensei's class and has quite a passive nature throughout the beginning of the series, though he later is revealed to have a knack for assassination, as the title suggests. He's one of the best students of Koro Sensei, and sort of acts as the middleman between his classmates, the guy that all of them can agree with on at least one subject. And don't let his less than threatening design fool you. He's a great assassin and came close to murdering multiple people during the series. An interesting thing is, instead of starting the series off with Nagisa's backstory, the story starts off right in the middle of the action, leaving Nagisa as this sort of blue-haired, mildly androgynous main character who you know almost nothing about. Though, when Nagisa's backstory is introduced, it explains a lot about him and adds to the fact that Nagosa? Pardon? Though, when Nagisa's backstory is introduced, it explains a lot about him and adds to the fact that Nagisa could definitely be trans. Chapter 1. Backstory. Nagisa lived with his mother, Hiromi. I am not keeping this voice up the entire time. Nagisa lived with his mother, Hiromi Shiota, during the series, only seeing his father every so often. In the canon, Hiromi wanted a daughter to live vicariously through, so she mentally manipulated Nagisa into feeling guilty about being born as a boy, using she/her pronouns for him and calling him feminine compliments, forcing him to wear clothing he wasn't comfortable in and have long hair that he didn't want, forever reminding him of something he could never change. Sound familiar? The backstory draws a lot of parallels to the trans experience, specifically the trans masc experience. Trans people are often forced to wear clothing they hate and appear in ways they don't like, just because of the gender their parents perceive them as. So a lot of AFAB individuals have long hair before they come out, because their parents won't let them cut it short because it's not appropriate for girls, or people will think you're a boy. Not like I'm talking from experience or anything. After coming out, some trans kids are guilted or shamed by their parents who want it to be easier for them, or think that somehow by their child coming out, it kills the child they thought they had. Now, let's look at Nagisa's story through the lens of if he had actually been trans and assigned female at birth. Hiromi would have been thrilled to have a daughter to live vicariously through, forcing Nagisa into dresses and more feminine clothing, despite how much he would dislike it. When he eventually came out, his father accepted him and allowed him to transition. But once they split, Nagisa was forced to stay with his mother. Despite pretending to support Nagisa, Hiromi tried to manipulate him into still being her perfect daughter, despite the fact that he's her son. This, I think, seems a bit more realistic than a mother just forcing her cis son to be a girl. If she was a parent who never let go of what she expected of her daughter, it would be much more plausible that she forced feminine attributes and clothing onto her son, hoping it would somehow fix him. On the Assassination Classroom's wiki, it reads, Nagisa is Hiromi's son and only child. She originally wanted a girl and continually told him that. At first, their relationship seems to be that of a prisoner and a warden, with Hiromi ordering Nagisa to be quiet and him obliging. Hiromi has been shown to verbally abuse Nagisa, screaming at him when he tried to defy her and harshly yanking out his pigtails. Hiromi obviously doesn't want to hear what Nagisa has to say about his own identity, obviously thinking she knows more about him than he does. Harshly ripping out Nagisa's ponytails could be Hiromi's way of forcibly ripping what little control over his appearance and gender expression that he has, and reminding him of his feminine looks. At home, Nagisa doesn't have a safe place, which is where Class 3E comes in. Around his classmates, Nagisa feels safe to be himself, and Koro-sensei, his sort of alternate father figure, acts as an ally for him, and accepts his trans identity.
I just want to say, I'm part of the LGBTQ community, and this is my best friend, Valentina. She's an ally. Talk, Valentina. Ally.
In Volume 14, Chapter 114, Hiromi says to Nagisa, "Who raised you? Well, have you any idea how much time and money I've spent on you? I got you tutors. I enrolled you in public school. I cooked you dinner every night when I came home exhausted after work. But you never appreciated any of that. You let that bald, idiotic teacher brainwash you, and all you learned was how to rebel against me. I created every inch of you." Hiromi sees Nagisa's being trans as an insult to her. She doesn't want kids to take care of them. She wants kids to control and live vicariously through. She thinks she has the right to dictate any aspect of his personality or life. She blames Koro-sensei, him being supportive of Nagisa's gender identity, for Nagisa rebelling, instead of blaming herself for abusing and controlling him. There's even a scene where Hiromi tries to force Nagisa to burn down the Class 3E classroom and beg the principal to put him in a normal class. She wants so badly for Nagisa to destroy the part of him that she doesn't approve of, so he can be forced to live an ordinary life that she does. But how did growing up with Hiromi dictating his life and disrespecting his identity shape Nagisa's personality, and how does that have anything to do with him being trans? Chapter 2. Personality. Nagisa is characterized as calm, collected, and friendly throughout the books. He's also extremely observant and can adapt to situations easily, part of his skill set to make him a great assassin. While extremely comfortable in dangerous and unnerving situations, Nagisa is still reserved and shy around his classmates. This could stem from Nagisa not wanting to be judged by other students too harshly for who he is. Nagisa also has deep insecurities about how he's perceived by people around him. He's used to being repeatedly called a girl. While he doesn't make a scene about it, he doesn't like it. He's insecure and wishes people would perceive him for who he is and not who his mother wants him to be. After being around Class 3E, a supportive space for him, an even bit of a found family, and around Koro-sensei, who no doubt supports his trans identity, his confidence boosts and he learns that he can be himself and no one can tell him any different. Something that works to Nagisa's advantage during the assassination attempt is people overlooking or underestimating him. Nagisa knows this and uses it to his advantage. This could also be because people usually don't see trans boys as the strong type compared to cis men. Nagisa sort of idolizes Karma Akabane, another classmate of his, and strives to defeat him. While this could be admiration for Karma's skills in assassination, it could also be Nagisa being slightly jealous of Karma's comfortability with his own gender, or Nagisa wanting to prove that he can be just as good as a cis guy. A bit of gender envy, if you will. Chapter 3. Relationships. Seeing as Nagisa was never accepted by his mother and didn't have a safe space, he immediately latched onto Class 3E as a support group and sort of found family. Kora-sensei is kind of Nagisa's father figure, pushing him to become stronger and pave the way for himself. Kora-sensei could act as an ally, someone that Nagisa feels comfortable coming out to. Before I go over the friendships Nagisa has, I have to go over the teasing and possible bullying that Nagisa received during the series. Quite a few times he is forced to dress like a girl, much like his mother forces him to do, by his classmates. This could be because they don't know about him being trans, and just think it's funny because he looks kind of androgynous. Or because they know about it and they're teasing him in a sort of transphobic way. His classmates even go so far as to nickname him androgynous during a assassination exercise, in the manga at least, pointing at the fact that he doesn't really pass that well. Quick side note, apparently in the English dub of the anime, his nickname was literally Gender. I'm not sure if that's like a really bad translation or if like that could just be like a transphobic joke or something, or like I have no words. At least androgynous like sounded kind of cool. Honestly, that's kind of a cool nickname though. If you guys started calling me that, I would not be mad, just saying. Despite being teased and bullied in the beginning of the series, Nagisa does manage to make friends who support him. Dang it, this name is gonna Keanu Reeves? Hey, Keanu, for example, the green-haired one, you know, the pigtails. Helps him to start styling his hair into pigtails, helping him conceal the long hair his mom forces him to keep. The same way an ally might help their trans friends get away with wearing makeup or clothing that matches their gender identity at school when they aren't out to their parents. Back on the subject of Karma Akabane, Nagisa was friends with Karma years before the events of Assassination Classroom took place. In this narrative, this could be before Nagisa came out. He had always harbored respect and admiration for Karma, possibly sprouting from gender envy, and him coming out might have been the thing to make them go back to being acquaintances. Eventually, Karma learns to respect his friend after he came out during their time in the Assassination Classroom. Okay, so what does this mean? What's the conclusion? Tell us, Mr. J. Well, the thing is, it means whatever you want it to be. If any of these points make sense to you, cool, maybe you have a new headcanon. If most of this just sounded like I was looking for things where they weren't, then fine, you can go on thinking he's a cis guy, because technically he is. But I wanted to share this with you because I do not see this character getting talked about enough when people are discussing transcoded anime characters, and I thought he was very obviously transcoded, or at least could be easily headcanoned as trans masc. I also like making rant videos, and I wanted to get all these words out on a piece of paper. I swear, when I was writing the script for this, I literally passed out, and some demon overtook me. And when I woke up, there was 4 pages of me rambling about why an anime character is trans. Which, I guess there's better things to do, but I can't think of any right now. So, if you have any trans or otherwise queer anime headcanons, feel free to share them down below. Especially if they're trans femme, because I don't headcanon those as commonly because I can relate to that less. But if any of you guys have that, I could do a video on it if I can find enough evidence for it or if I agree with it. Please comment any video ideas you have for me. I'm really bad at coming up with them on my own. This one's just been on the back burner for a while, so I just wanted to get it out there. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe if you like the video. Hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss another video like this. Hopefully it's going to be better. Until next time, this is Mr. J signing off. What are you still doing here, weirdo?